Hi guys, Bolts96 here, video is a 0, and in today's video I have decided to grade each Premier League team's season between A+ all the way down to F, so make sure to stick around what grade I gave to your team this season. Arsenal, A-. We are starting with a high scorer. Arsenal had a phenomenal season and pushed City for the title for nearly the entire season, actually spending the majority of it sitting pretty in first place. Yes, they dropped off at the last hurdle and ended up conceding the league, which is why I haven't graded them higher, but they did do a heck of a lot better than anyone had predicted, whilst also playing entertaining football throughout. I am very intrigued to see how they do this season. A fantastic team who had a fantastic season, just not a perfect one. Aston Villa, B+. To be fair to them, this could easily be an A-rated grading, but I have considered it and opted for B+. Since bringing Unai Emery in, Aston Villa have been a different beast, and I'm so glad for them that they got into Europe because they massively deserved it. Their improvement was phenomenal, but their start of season form under Gerrard is what brings their grading down a bit, as I have to consider the whole season here. Realistically, a team of Villa's size, quality and history should be fighting for European places anyway, but to have done it after being in 16th place having played 12 games is a brilliant achievement. Bournemouth, A-. Bournemouth were predicted by near enough everyone to finish dead last and get relegated, and I'm sorry to say that I was one of the ones predicting this as well. But fair play to Bournemouth. They proved everyone wrong, finishing in 15th place in the Premier League, which is their 4th highest ever finish. They defied all expectations and confirmed their place in the Premier League next season with 5 points more than 18th place Leicester. I was umming and ahhing between A- and a B+, but just by the fact that so many people wrote them off, I think they deserve to fall into the A bracket. But at the time of recording this, they have just sacked Gary O'Neill, so we'll see how next season goes. Brentford, B+. Brentford finished the season in 9th place, improving on last season to earn their highest ever Premier League finish. Not to mention they finished just 1 point behind Spurs and 2 points behind European places. That deserves recognition. They were brilliant and consistent for the majority of the season. With a free-flowing style of football, one of the best defensive records in the league, and high-scoring wins against some teams, as well as winning 6 and drawing 3 against the classic Big Six teams. They were an absolute force to be reckoned with. Brighton, A. The highest grading of the chart so far, Brighton had their greatest ever season and rightfully earned a place in the Europa League next season. I think a few people feared for Brighton when they lost Graham Potter, but De Zerbi has worked absolute wonders and actually had them performing even better. The style of football was very entertaining, and star performances from the likes of McAllister, Caicedo, Matoma and so on created a team who had everyone concerned to play them. An incredible season and an incredible team. I do hope that they can replicate it again next season. Chelsea, F. Chelsea's season was an absolute shambles. Their worst ever season in the Premier League after spending over £600 million in the transfer market. This team does not gel, and it is going to take some work from Pochettino to sort them out. To finish the season with 44 points is horrendous, and the fact they only scored 2 more goals than bottom place Southampton is laughable. It is mad to think that their position in the league was actually tentatively being discussed throughout the season. It is insane for a team the size of Chelsea. Relegation should never be a topic of discussion when we are speaking about Chelsea, and I'm sure the fans will be keen to forget this season very quickly. Crystal Palace, B-. Crystal Palace finished the season in 11th place, which is a really solid end to the season for them and puts them into the B grading for me, but I have opted for a B- based on their performances before Hodgson's arrival. Under Vieira, they were having a bit of a mixed bag of a season and were losing too many games, which put them in the discussion for relegation. This would have been a lower grading if that continued, but Roy came in and settled the ship, made them solid, got them to a good finish. They were a very solid team, and I'm sure next season they will hope to continue that and push for a top half of the table finish. Everton, E. Everton had yet another really bad season and were once again on the cusp of relegation, which should not be the case for this team. They were awful for a lot of the season, and even when Dyche came in, they weren't massively better than they had been already. However, 2 wins and 2 draws from the final 5 games this season is much better form and could indicate an improvement next season. Managing survival by the skin of their teeth, they don't deserve to be graded with an F, but they definitely don't deserve to be graded any higher. Fulham, B+. Fulham were another team who were expected to struggle by almost everyone, but they defied those expectations tremendously so. I awarded them as my overachievers of the season, and it is with reason. They finished in 10th place and were fighting for Europe right up until the Mitro ban. It is that ban and the drop in form that has meant me not grading their season any higher, but a comfortable top half finish and an entertaining team has earned them this high score. Leeds United, F. A 19th place finish resulted in relegation from the Premier League for this Leeds United side after they only just secured survival the year before. They actually had quite a good team put together and had a number of games where they probably should have earned some points, but in truth they just couldn't produce the results on the pitch and suffered too many defeats. A poor season for Leeds United and relegation at the end of it, I couldn't give them any higher than an F. Leicester City, F. The third F of this list and the second one on the bounce. Leicester City were my underachievers of the season and relegation was the result of that. This team should have been nowhere near relegation, but they were absolutely horrendous and gifted far too many wins to opposition teams. I was so disappointed in them and seeing that drop off from the season before. They could actually struggle to bounce back up if things aren't handled correctly from now to the start of the next season, but that's another question entirely. For this season, they definitely failed. Liverpool, C-. The drop-off from Liverpool's quadruple pushing campaign in the 21-22 season to this season was immense, and the fact that they failed to achieve Champions League football is huge. This could have been a lower grading, but a number of huge wins and 7 wins from their last 9 games has earned them a footing in the C category in my eyes. That final push did put them very close to achieving Champions League football, but the form earlier in this season wasn't good enough, and the fact that they do have to settle for Europa League football next season means that this was a less than average season and not good enough considering what we have witnessed from this team over the past 5 seasons. This summer is going to be hugely important for this team, and as a Liverpool fan I am very keen to see how it develops. Manchester City, A+. Well, here we are, the treble winners. Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League under their belt in 2023. Only the second team to do it in the history of the Premier League. A remarkable season from a remarkable team, and it simply can't be anything less than the highest grading I could give them. It did look like for a long time that they wouldn't win the Premier League, but a drop-off from Arsenal coupled with the consistent unwavering presence of City won them the league, and fair play to them. They've earned it. Manchester United, B. Third place for Manchester United and a League Cup win is a good result for them in Ten Hag's first season at the club. They had a number of periods throughout the season where they were excellent and seemed unbeatable, but there were also a few drop-offs, a few major losses, and they did still finish 14 points off of top spot. I think a B grade is fair. If United can be a bit more consistent next season, and if they can make some smart moves in the transfer market, pains me to say it, but they'll be well placed for a push for the title in 2024. Newcastle United, B+. Newcastle United are back in the Champions League and it is well deserved. They had a fantastic season and very rarely dropped off the pace, other than a couple of blips and a less than stellar end to the season. Most people expected them to have a good season following the takeover, but most didn't expect them to break into the top 4, and at the expense of Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea to boot is a big achievement. They've done well and it will be interesting to see how they do next season. Nottingham Forest, C+. Nottingham Forest were a very interesting team to follow this season. All of those transfers, a fun style of play and a brilliant fan base. I thoroughly enjoyed Forest being back in the Premier League and I'm glad they secured their safety within it. I have given them a C+ for that survival, but I can't go any higher than this. Despite the investment, it did take a very impressive 2 wins and 2 draws from the final 4 games to finish only 4 points above the relegation spots. I think this summer will be another intriguing one where they will make more transfers in, but I think they will look to refine the squad and streamline the team a bit more, which will hopefully provide them with more of a solid foundation going into the new season. Southampton, F. 20th place Southampton just simply did not have the quality this season. They had a couple of good performers, but that was it. Defensively, they were very poor and they weren't much better at scoring goals either. I like Southampton, but this have been on the wall all season and they never look like changing that fact. 11 points off safety is damning, and it is going to take a fair few changes within that team to come back up next season. Spurs, D-. Finishing a point outside of Europe and in 8th place this season is not good enough for this team. It is a miracle that they were even that close, and that miracle is called Harry Kane. Without him, they could have finished in a similar spot as Chelsea, or maybe even worse. Whether Kane stays or he goes, changes need to happen at that club, and a massive improvement is going to happen if they are to have any chance of getting in Europe next season. West Ham United, D-. I think the fact that West Ham were not fighting for survival at the end of the season and a UEFA Conference League trophy has tricked a lot of people into thinking that West Ham's season wasn't that bad, but in fact, it was awful. They finished 7 places and 16 points worse off than last season, which is an immense drop off, and the 3rd worst behind Chelsea and Leicester City. West Ham's season was not good, far from it, and unless they make a very big improvement next season, I could see them struggling to stay in this league. They've got a good team and shouldn't be finishing in 14th place. Everyone expected better of them, and it is only because of that trophy win that I am not dropping them into the E category. Wolverhampton Wanderers, D. Although Wolves had a similar season to West Ham and did only finish 1 point and 1 place above them, I am giving them a slightly higher grading. The reason being is that their drop off from last season is not as major, and their performances did improve a bit since Lopetegui came in. However, comfortably sporting the worst goals for record in the league this season is not a good look for this team. They have far too many good players to be performing so poorly, and realistically they should be pushing for a place in the top half. With Ruben Neves on the way out, this summer is vital for them, and if they don't manage it right, I could see them performing in a similar fashion next season. And there we are, guys. That is the grade I have just given to every single Premier League team this season. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of my picks, whether they were good, bad, or whatever. And please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out across all my other socials as well as YouTube. I am on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch, which is where I do all of my streaming, all under the same handle, Bolts96, with the O is 0. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.